Okay, so our project here is to do the majority vote. And we are going to breadboard this. This used to be introduced as like the intro project, but it's, we finish it up. So that's why this number is off. It's actually now 2.1.6, but the project's the same. So usually to get a majority, you have to have more people vote. For example, right now in the U.S. Senate, there are 50 Republicans, there are 48 Democrats, 2 independent senators. So if they vote 50 to 50, and in this case, we know that the vice president gets the vote to break the tie in the Senate right now. So that's why in our most recent elections, all politics aside, currently now the Republicans do not hold a majority, and usually the independent voters vote with the Democrats, although you do not have to vote entirely along party lines. Well, what we are looking at in this situation is we have a board of directors that has only 4 members: a president, a vice president, a secretary, and a treasurer. Okay, so you have to have a majority. So if 3 people vote yes, it's going to pass. What we are saying in this situation, if there is a tie, then the president's vote will break the tie. Okay, so we have 4 variables in this situation, and actually you should be glad that this is not 5, right? We don't have 5 switches on our breadboard companions, and we know how much more complicated it gets the more variables we have. So how many rows is your truth table going to have with 4 variables? Okay, if you have 1 variable, how many rows is a truth table with 1 variable? 2. It's on or it's off, right? 0 or 1. If you have 2 variables, it's 4 rows. 3 variables is 8 powers of 2. So 4 variables will be 16, right? All right, so what I need you to do now, we're going to use PVST for president, vice president, secretary, treasurer, right? And if they all vote no, of course, the decision is that it fails. If we all vote no, it doesn't pass. And we get down here to 0, 0, 1, 1, and still 2 people voted yes, but there's a tie in that case. So the president breaks the tie. So I'm going to pause the video. I want you to write out and finish the truth table and find out the terms, all the terms that you need for this situation. Okay. Here would be our unsimplified equation for the majority vote. So if we had to breadboard that with 2 input AND gates and 2 input OR gates, that is a lot of wires and a lot of gates and a lot of variables. Okay? What you probably should do, unless you write small, you probably should start this Boolean algebra on a new sheet of paper, because this does take, it takes about a half a page depending upon how big you write. Actually, it finally hit me today. I've been teaching this class for 10 or 11 years now, and I finally figured out the easiest and fastest way to do this. And like I've said before, with this Boolean algebra, It's like driving directions. If you take a wrong turn, somehow you have to backtrack and start over. And Boolean algebra works that way, and so does, doing trig identities, which you'll do in pre-calc, which you need for calculus down the road. So I finally have the most direct way and simplest way to do this, although there is more than one step, or more than one way you could get there. So, are we ready, guys? Yes? All right. So you'll kind of notice I kind of grouped some terms together that I want to work with, because those terms, the ones I underlined in blue, they have 3 variables in common. These two have 3 variables in common that I underline in red, and the ones I underline in green have 3 variables in common. And you could also say, well, Mr. Conrad, you could do that with the first one and the last one. Well, yes, you could. But this, it finally hit me, that last term, that's the key to this entire Boolean simplification. That last term where everybody votes yes. Now, it's always nice when everybody votes yes, right? Peer pressure, right? Everybody votes yes. There's no dissent, right? That's always nice when everybody agrees. We're all going to Taco Bell for lunch, or we're all going to Wendy's, right? So, whatever, but that is the most important. So if we start canceling out that term, we are in trouble, and you'll never get to the end. You might get something simplified, but not all of it. Okay, so that being said, let's come up here. Those first 2 terms are just along for the ride. So we got P naught, BST, or, now let's look at the ones I had outlined in blue. What's the light terms out on that underlined in blue? I can take P, S naught, T out, and what's left? B naught would be and then in red, what is my common terms? B naught S. And then I have left inside would be what? T naught or T. And then in green, what? PV T naught. And then what do we have left? S naught or S. And then we have PVST. Now, that's 1. And I'm not going to write this down, but T naught or T is 1, and S naught or S is 1. Right, every single one of those. So then that would just be P naught B ST or P S naught T or P V naught S or P V T naught or PVST. Well, remember how sometimes you got to make things more complicated to make it simpler? Okay, so I want to order that with PVST or PVST or PVST. You're ordering something with itself, it doesn't change it, right? That's okay. So I made it a little more complicated. And then let's reorder some things. P naught VST, I'm going to OR with of PVST, and I'm going to do that for every single term. Or my second term is what? P S naught T, ORed with PVST. And my third term was what? I guess I could underline these so we kind of know where we're at. That's that one, that's that one. And that's that one. So that's P V naught S, ORed with the PVST. And then there's the group I had with green. So then that's P V T naught or PVST. See where this is going? Now actually, after I did that, you might be able to finish it without any help. What do you think, guys? Keep going? Not so sure. What can we factor out of the first group? VST can factor out of the first group, and that'll be handed with P naught or P. And what factors out of the second group? PT, and that'll end with S naught or the VS. Out of the third group, PS will end with V naught or VT. And the last group, PV, and we'll end with T naught or ST. Well, that's VST and 1. And each one of these groups, what rule do we have going on in every one of the rest of those groups? S naught or VS, V naught or VT, T naught or ST. We're trying to get a majority. The vocabulary name of the rule should even help. Consensus. We're trying to get a consensus. Each one of these is consensus. So S naught or VS will simplify to what? S naught or V. And then we have PS and V naught or VT will simplify to V naught or T. And then we have PV and T naught or ST will simplify to T naught or S. So now we just have to redistribute everything. VST or PT S naught or PVT, or PSV naught, or PST, or PVT naught, or PVS. So now you just have to figure out the terms aren't next to each other anymore. So VST, that one's fully simplified. PTS, where will that simplify? Yeah, that will simplify in group with PST. And PVT, that'll group with PVT naught to simplify. Again, just looking to move ahead is all. And then, of course, PSV naught and PVS. So let's see, that would be then, we would have VST, or if we look at my red groups, I can take out what? P, T, and S naught or S. In my blue group, I can take out PV and T or T naught. In my green group, I can take out the PS and V naught or V. And of course, each one of those simplifies down to be a 1. So then I would have EST or PT or PV or ES. That's not so bad, is it? Yeah, let me see. I want to extend the page. There's actually, I'm going to let you decide, which way you want to draw this out to build it. Okay, but we actually have no inverters, right? The president votes with any other single person. VST, we could do this. This up here would be totally sum of products, right? But here, I think if we do this, it makes it a little simpler. Because then that would be P and T or V or S. Now that's a combination of sum of products and product of sums, but I think this one ends up being fewer chips. President, vice president, secretary, treasurer. Right, because there's PB. There's PB. There's PT. And then that's an AND gate. It would have to AND with that one. And then all of those need to OR together. So it's not that hard of a circuit, but that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 5 AND gates, 3 OR gates. Okay, of course, if I do this one, PVST, it's a little bit harder to troubleshoot, but it's actually a simpler circuit. If we were making thousands of these, we would want the simpler circuit. Right? We would still have, what would we have? We would have, there's my VST, right? And then if I want to do the OR, this would be B or S or T, right? But then I need to AND that with P, B or S or T, ANDed with P, and then ORed with the other one. For my decision, right? Of course, it lights up when we have a yes. So, if we look at that, what's that?
Mr. Spark asked me if you wanted this from Mr. Downey.
Oh, a machinist handbook, sure.
He said if you didn't want it.
I think I have a second one of those. But sure,
All
why
right,
not?
sweet.
I got Grandpa Baker's.
All right, well, I'll see you tonight.
So you'll have to decide which one of those, because this one actually is going to be fewer wires to bring forward. But if you make a mistake, it's not quite as easy to troubleshoot. Does that make sense? Just a little, you just got to think differently. Okay, so hey, we're partway done. Next week, we got to draw it out on multisim and breadboard. Awesome. Was that too bad? That wasn't too bad, really.
Actually,
Once by just using, when we simplified that, and it did hit me, and I probably wouldn't have gone as direct with you to get this done and get through it, other than we're in a pandemic. Sometimes we go down the rabbit hole and go backwards. We can't lose 2 or 3 days trying to simplify this problem on your own, okay? So when I finally realized, it only took me 10 years, that PVST being the key to the whole thing, if we just duplicate that OR, that term, man, everything just fell like dominoes.
It looks confusing, but actually working through that,
It's really not.
yeah. And if anything, that's easier than anything else I would imagine.
Yeah. All right. Awesome.